Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail community news, trail information, and thru hiker update. This week on the Appalachian Trail, it has just been a huge week. Tons of no-bows that are starting out there. We are somewhere over 1,000. I don't know the exact amount, but we're somewhere over 1,000 hikers that have moved out and continue to increase right smack dab in the middle of the bubble. So let's go ahead and get started with who's got started this past week and who's out there on the trail. So right off the bat, we got Anubis. He is on the way to Irwin. He took a little time off for some healing there in Hot Springs, but he's back on trail now, heading on to Irwin. When you hit Hot Springs, you're about a month into your hike. And by this time now, you've been eating all kind of crud you've been putting into your body. You've been eating junk food and meat out of a bag and that gosh awful spam loaf that people eat, and just stuff that you've completely depleted your body of the minerals and electrolytes and all the things, the goodness that you hopefully had before you got on the trail. That all is depleted now, and so by the time you get to Hot Springs, you're probably starting to feel a little like crud hiking up the trail. You're getting tired easier, and just things don't feel as good. So what I would encourage you to do is try to get as many fruits and vegetables throughout the course of the trail right off the get-go, but particularly get around Trail Magic. They've got a lot of fruit and stuff there, so make sure you're doing the best that you can to keep some nutrition up. When you get into town, go get some veggies, go get some fruit, and just try to get that nutrition back in your body so that you'll be able to, because literally lack of nutrition has taken people off the trail before. We want to see everybody finish. Let's keep going here. Timberwolf and Terry, they have hit the North Carolina line. Rocksteady, he made it to the trail. Subman, he has made it through the Smokies and should be in Hot Springs any day. Papa Bear started in Alabama on the Pinhoti, and he should be at the Georgia line in a few days. Dandelion has made it to the Knock and is heading on to Fontana. Radioactive and Sparky, they've made it through the Smokies. They say the trail was crowded around Charlie's Bunyan. That's kind of a favorite day hike for people to get in. It's just a few miles in, a few miles back out. So that's an out and back that a lot of day hikers do, and it's a really neat view. So that's always going to be crowded this time of year. But they did say the Smoky Mountains were incredible. The views were amazing, and they are having the time of their lives. The Breeze has made it through Roan Highlands, and he is making a push on to Damascus. Mischief, he should be done with the Smokies. Sunshine and 511, they are getting ready to make that climb into the Smokies. So they sent in a picture, though, from a few days back of a tent site that was about 30% over capacity. So this kind of gives you an idea of, they're on the front cusp of the bubble, I would say. And so, at this point, things are getting pretty crowded out there, and you just need to realize that. Maybe get the sites quicker to get a spot, maybe get to shelters quicker. Certainly, if you're going to get off trail for weather or any reason to a hostel, you need to call them as soon as you can so that you can secure a place. Old Goat, he's finished the Smokies, and he's hiking with Deluxe and Trimpy, and they're heading on to Hot Springs and most likely be there in the next 3 days. Tapeworm, he made it to Amical Falls State Park, and he is cutting a trail literally, and he is in North Carolina this morning. And he said that folks seem to be setting up their tent earlier, I guess because he said around 3 o'clock, which he's not used to, and sometimes he's hiked even with a headlight on. So he likes to do those big miles, but he said folks are setting up, and maybe that's because, just like I said, so they can secure a site. Sam Shaw, he's made it to Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, and says he feels like the rock started before the Roxylvania state line. And he is getting some new shoes. So that's a lot of times what happens to your feet. You don't trade out your shoes fast enough, and so your feet start hurting really bad. He is wearing Ultras, and he is having to swap out for the third time to get a new pair. So he's saying that Ultras, he feels like, do not last as long as some of the others. But he should be running into Aquaman, who is our first Sobo of the year, and he should be running into him in the next few days. So that'll be pretty epic to see that picture, see those guys, the South meeting the North when they come in. come together there. And so I'm sure that's going to be a neat greeting that they get going on there. And speaking of Aquaman, of course, he is our first Sobo hiker of the year and maybe our only Sobo hiker right now. And he said that here within the past few days, he's still had about an inch of snow and ice on the trail. So he's just coming into PA. But he says he feels like that the trail's starting to come back to a buzz after a few months of a lull. And of course, he's been out there when most people have not been out there on the trail. So he is looking forward to running into that Nobo bubble and finally getting to share some shelters and just share some of that hiker community out there. So I'm sure that that solitude after a while can get just a little bit lonely. Mike and Julie, they made it to Springer. Aaron has made it to the trail. It's just John and Tabitha. They have made it to Franklin, and they should be around Fontana by now. Outback, who is hiking the ECT, has made it to Franklin. Whiskers and the Happy Hippie, they made it to the Above the Clouds hostel there at Woody Gap, and they're doing some slap packing, so they should be at Neal's Gap today. And they said the first part of the trail is no joke, but they are fine and learning what they need and they don't need. Gazelles around the knock first of the week and for Nero with Muppet and Hot Pants. And they have indicated that the trail and the weather have been amazing so far. So the shelter areas have been pretty crowded. Gooch, Low Gap, and Rock Gap shelter areas were completely full. Tent sites included at those shelter areas. They did say the established stealth sites, had been fairly empty. So if you're getting into full shelters, then you might want, and there's no place to even tent around them. You might want to hike just a little further for stealth sites, as those have been kind of empty, particularly if you are a big group. Did say also the cables, and the bear boxes have been full down there with people's equipment and food bags. And they did say that North Carolina has been much better with smaller groups. Nips and Trapper are around mile 140, and Nips turned 56 on the trail this past week. Matter of fact, it was on the 4th. So happy birthday to Nips, and looking forward to y'all continuing to have just a great time out there on the trail. Bricks is in North Carolina, and he said the hostel around the bend has been sold out. And so hikers, if you're going to stay there, you need to reserve early. Florida Flats and Maytag, they have made it to Neal's Gap. Georgia, formerly known as Wanted Woman, is with Muse, and they should be past Dix Creek around the first of the week. Lazarus, he is almost to Franklin, said that Hawk Shelter was full with about 12 people, and there were about 20 more folks in tent spots around there. Two Beards, they got their trail names of Letterman and Spoons, and they are in the Smokies. Mushroom and Pink Hot Dog, they've made it to Irwin, and they're taking a few zeros before heading on into the Roan Mountain Highlands, which is my favorite section of the whole trail. So hope they got great weather going through there, because that is just some gorgeous Sound of Music type views through the Roan Mountain Highlands. Straps and Kim, who got her trail name of Chatterbox, they are over halfway complete with the Smokies. And Rick and Sherry Lambert, they have made it to Franklin. So congratulations to all those folks on all the progress they've made over this past week. Thank you for sending in those updates. That makes my life a whole lot easier so that I don't have to go out and try to harvest these when y'all push those to me. So if you're a thru hiker out there, you're going to start, or you've just now discovered this channel and you want to be part of this update each week, just send it to me in a DM through Facebook or Instagram. Those are down below. Or you can send me an email, works really good, and that information is down below as well. And if you want to be on my hiker support list, then the means to do that through the forum link is down below. And if you're one of the hiker community, then you can go and see who's out there hiking on my hiker support list. I think we're somewhere up around 300 by now. And with all their social media, so you can go and track them and just give them an attaboy and attagirl all the way throughout the course of their hike. Some folks that are on our support list that are starting next week, we've got Pat Baylong, Gene Murdoch, Eddie Halupke, Jay Deason, Terry Cody, Tennessee, Turtle, Easy, Camel, Strider, Popeye, MapQuest 2022, Luann Adrakovic, Ben and Jerry, Crazy Cop, Sandals, Back Scratcher, YOLO, Wolfman, Little Chap, Sundance, and I really appreciate these folks that have easy names. Jarrett Shutt, Chris and Alexandra Crow, Jerry Taylor, Grapple, Chris Bradley, Sloth Heading South, and Steady. So all those are starting next week. Be sure you go out, check out their social media, and give them a shout out there and support them. So registrations that we've got for the ATC from last week that we have gone up, not considerably. For a while we were really on a rocket ship going up, and now that's kind of petered off just a little bit. So we're not quite going up as fast as we were, but that's to be expected, as always, the later we get in the season. So we are up to 3,150 NOBO. That's up somewhere short of 100 folks, 100 hikers that are registered. Flip-floppers we're up to 141, and Sobo we've got 130. Those Sobos will start to pick up more and more as more and more people register for Sobo. So that gives us a total right now registered through the ATC of 3,421 folks that are out there registered through the ATCs. This time last year, we were at 2,869. So that's an increase over 2021 of about 550 hikers. And then in 2020, this time last year, in 2020, we were at 2,418. So that's 1,000 more than what we've got on the trail that have registered right now. We're also maxed out for more days. We maxed out for 3 more days than we did for last week. Last week we're at 20. Now we're at 23 maxed out days. That means that we've got 50 or more people that are on the trail or that started their hike during this hiker season. So the ATC sets the carrying capacity at 50 people per day. And of course, that doesn't mean that you can't take more people out there. Matter of fact, today they took at least 60 people out there on the trail. So they'll take 100. They don't limit how many people go out there. It's just the carrying capacity is 50. So we're maxed out at 23 today. It looks like that there's a couple more days coming up that we may max out as well. Pack weights, they are averaging somewhere around 31, 32 pounds. I saw on the log sheet that some folks sent me a picture in. The heaviest I saw was 42.2 pounds, and the lightest was somewhere around 18 this past week. But overall, we're somewhere around the 31 to 32 average pack weight. Appreciate you folks that sent me those logbook pictures in. They don't like it when you take a picture of that down there, so you kind of have to do it when they're not looking. But I make sure if I do publish a logbook that I don't include anybody's address or anything like that, so that nobody can go back and steal their identity. So, well, that is safe with me. So some trail news that we got out there. Last week, I mentioned that Rob Bird from the Birdcage, also known as the Birdman, he is a trail angel, and he had been doing this for many, many years. He's been doing trail angel work, feeding people, giving people rides, even bringing them back home when they're around his home, providing them shelter. And that he had come down with brain cancer and had only been given months to live. And so I found out this week that Birdman actually passed away this past week. So he did not make it those few months. So he's got family, I'm sure. I don't know Birdman very well, so I don't know what his family ties are or what they are. I don't, but I know that he affected a lot of people and helped a lot of people. So there are people that are loved ones of his, people that knew him, people he had helped, that this will come as a blow to them. So for his family and those people that I ask that if you pray for them. If you just send good vibes, send them good vibes, whatever you can do. Then please do that. And then ATCO was this past weekend. That's Appalachian Trail Kickoff. I apologize. I told some of you folks I would be there, and then I realized that I was going to be out of town for the next 2 weeks seeing hikers off down at Springer. And so I just could not get my matrix life organized enough to be out of town and away from the Ponderosa for 3 weekends in a row. Miss Ramdino's list would not get done appropriately if I did that. So I did not go down there, and apologize for that. Look forward to seeing you out there on the trail otherwise. And then the U.S. Forest Service, they are planning a burn this weekend up on White Top Mountain, which is around the Grayson Highlands. So they'll be closing the AT around there in places like Elk Garden and Mud Creek Lane, Forest Road, places like that. So they may be closed. They'll only be closed for a short time meaning most of the day. So you'll either have to go around, shuttle around, or you can just wait, camp out and wait. They're only doing it for a day. I've also kind of looked at how the Virginia National Forest Service does things, and it looks like in the spring they will be doing some other prescribed burns in national forests around the AT. So sometimes they close the trail, and most of the time they try not to close the trail. So just understand, though, that there may be a lot of smoke there. Anubis said there was a burn in North Carolina, and he had to walk through the woods, and it was very, very smoky and ashy. So that was very tough on his lungs to walk through that. So just keep that in mind. If you're in the woods, it's smoky, it's probably got a prescribed burn. And if Virginia National Forest Service is doing it, you can bet that North Carolina and Tennessee and all of them are probably doing it during the spring. They do that during the spring to get rid of some of that undergrowth so it doesn't provide fuel for summertime fires caused by lightning strikes or careless campers out there or hikers out there not putting out their fires cold. It's going to be a ribbon cutting on March 18th at Uncle Johnny's in Irwin. That'll be at 1 o'clock. So I mentioned to you a couple videos ago that Uncle Johnny's had been purchased from Charlotte, and the new proprietors there, they are going to have a ribbon cutting, and that is going to be, again, on the 18th at 1 o'clock, and they plan to have some food, drinks, and possibly a band. So yesterday, I did a video on some criminal activity that occurred on the trail. And I just wanted to say one more thing about that, and then probably will not be bringing that up anymore. But one thing is that nobody's been convicted of anything. And so in this country, you are presumed innocent until you're convicted. However, any kind of behavior that goes on out there that's deviant behavior is not acceptable, and that doesn't change that fact. People also do not need to be spreading any type of rumors about it. There's only a very small amount of people that are at the epicenter of what occurred, and only they know exactly what occurred. And so nobody else does out there, or very few other people, certainly not the entire trail community knows that. And so I have heard back from the trail that there's lots of rumors that people are getting off the trail or contemplating getting off the trail, contemplating not coming back to the trail because of all the publicity, and mainly because of all the rumors, most of which I feel like have been blown out of proportion. Those rumors don't do anything positive to help the hiker community. Certainly we want to be diligent out there in all that we do, just like you would be diligent wherever you went. There are people in the world everywhere that will do things that are not appropriate. But there's not a boogeyman around every tree and every blaze on the Appalachian Trail or on any trail or anywhere else in the world. So we need to stop with the rumors and not make it worse than it is, because that just makes people feel unsafe. And it does folks injustice, because some people may not hike because of that fear that those rumors and blowing things out of proportion cause. And we want everybody to come out to the trail and enjoy the trail. The trail is statistically a safer place than in your hometown. And so unless you live in a one-horse town or a single stoplight town, it's safer than any minor or major metropolitan areas. So, and there are people that will look out for you on the trail. The trail community is a great, great community. And so I just encourage folks, if you're coming, come on out the trail. Don't let anything stop you. Don't let the rumor mill stop you, and come out. You will be safe here. And the trail is a life-changing experience, even if you don't finish, even if you only spend, just a week or so on it. It will be something that will change your life. And hopefully, like me, you'll become passionate about it, and you'll become part of the hiker community. And that's what it's all about, is building and supporting the hiker community and that fellowship we have. So I look forward to continuing that with everybody out there, and continuing supporting and building and just enjoying this great hiker community that we have. All right, folks, that's all I got this week. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out there.